Okay, welcome back everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you had a hearty lunch in this cold day, at least in Brussels. We are now going into the session EIC Accelerator. For that we have a panel, different experts from the EIC. And I will give the floor now to my colleague Chiara Funari, who is the moderator for the session, who will moderate as well the questions for the panelists. So over to you, Chiara.
Thank you very much, Andres. Do you hear me well?
We do hear you well.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the EIC Day. This afternoon, we will hear more about the EIC Accelerator Program and the EIC Fund. Remember that for both sessions, you can ask your question via Slido with the hashtag EIC Day and the room Accelerator. And now I leave the floor to Cornelius Schmalz, who's head of unit of the EIC Accelerator.
Thank you, Chiara. Welcome all people who are interested in the EIC. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So welcome, it's a pleasure to not see you, but be in front of all of you. I would like to briefly introduce you to the EIC Accelerator, but I will just have a few slides and will then leave the floor to my colleague Catherine Eginard and to Stéphane Wacky, who will tell you more about the details of mostly the evaluation and the EIC Fund. So to start with the introduction, the EIC Accelerator program, as you have already heard in an overview from Keith this morning, what are we looking for? We're looking for startups and SMEs that are seeking to scale up high-packed innovations with the potential to create new markets or disrupt existing ones. We want innovations that build on scientific discovery or technological breakthroughs, what we call deep tech. And we want innovations where significant funding is needed over a long time frame and that are too risky for private investors alone. So if you look at these three items, that's what you should ask yourself when you ask yourself whether you should submit an application and what makes your application likely to succeed. What kind of support can you receive? You can receive grant and investment. If you need support for development from TRLs 5 to 6 up to 8, and you can get investment also for the part for deployment and scale up TRL 9. You can also have grant first if your innovation still requires significant work to validate and demonstrate in relevant environments to assess its commercial potential. You can have grant only if you can prove that you have sufficient financial means for deployment and scale up yourself. The requirement for scale up remains, and if you do not ask for investment, then you need to show that you have that yourself. And you can also ask for investment only if you're looking to fill the funding gap for rapid scale up of your high risk innovation and you don't need a grant at this point. The grant component, let's start with that, has a maximum of 2.5 million, has eligible costs that are reimbursed up to a maximum of 70%. So this is different from the schemes about which you have heard this morning, which are reimbursed up to 100%. Here it's 70%. We expect your own contribution with 30%. Your innovation activities that we support should generally be completed within 24 months. And small mid-cap companies are not eligible for the grant, but can apply for investment only. So it remains the grant component for small and medium enterprises. The investment component should be between €500,000 and €50 million. It usually comes in the form of direct equity or quasi-equity. We usually aim to not take more than 25% of the voting shares of the company, and we aim to provide patient capital which is required in the longer term. Stéphane will tell you more about that later. With that, one more slide about the business acceleration services, which you have also heard referred to this morning already. These are tailor-made services for all EIC beneficiaries. So this is more interesting for you once you have been selected and are successful, then you will get access to advice. This includes coaching, mentoring, but also specific expertise and training. We will provide you access to business partners, to corporations, to investors, to distributors, innovation procurers, potential clients, and more. And we will connect you to the innovation ecosystem and your peers. This is EIT, European Institute of Technology, knowledge in innovation communities, KICs, incubators, accelerators, innovation agencies, associations, stock exchanges, the Enterprise Europe network, an IPR help desk, and the European Intellectual Property Office, EUIPO. With that, I give the floor back to Chiara.
Thank you very much, Cornelius, for this introduction into the EIC Accelerator. Now we leave the floor to Catherine Ginard, who's head of sector of the EIC Accelerator evaluation, and she will present us the full process. Catherine, I think you're still mute.
Here it is. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I will continue the presentation started by Cornelius, and thanks, Chiara, for the introduction. So I will show you in the next slides the evaluation process for the accelerator in a detailed way. When we have built a new evaluation process, so we have been working on 7 guiding principles based on what we have learned during the previous period, starting with the SME instrument and then with the EIC pilot. Well, the first one, we want to offer continuously open call for ideas. So any innovators having an idea can come to see us, and whenever it suits him, the innovator can apply or can submit his innovation to the evaluation. The second guiding principle is, well, we want to offer support services for innovators. So we have developed an AIT platform. Also with business coaching, we will help the applicant to further develop their initial idea and draft their proposal, and we will give them the opportunity to mature their proposal. And I will come back on the AIT platform later in my presentation. Third guiding principle, well, we want to increase the quality of evaluation, and we want to do that by limiting the resubmission of rejected proposal. That will lead us to have an important reduction of the number of proposals to evaluate. So we will be in position to dedicate more time to the evaluators to really assess the proposal. And this is something that we have learned from the past, where we were in an environment where resubmission were not at all limited. And then at the end, we had more than 70% of resubmitted proposals. The fourth guiding principle is that still, if we want to limit the resubmission, we want to reward effort by creating a second chance for all proposals which have not managed to get funding at the end of the process. And I will explain how we have put into process this second chance in the presentation. The fifth guiding principle is really, we want to encourage radical ideas. We want to have a risk-taking attitude. So we will allow dissent, not forcing any consensus between evaluators. And then this approach will go through the process to select the proposal. Also, we have stopped the numerical scoring. We will go to a go, no-go decision at each step of the evaluation. The sixth guiding principle is, we want to enhance transparency. We will provide feedback to applicants, even if evaluators completely have different view on the proposal, but the applicant will receive the evaluation from each expert at the different step of the evaluation. And then the seventh one is really, as we want to promote innovativeness and disruptiveness, we will also use and propose an AI platform that will support the applicant with their proposal, but also the evaluators. And doing that, we want really to propose a methodology and a structure both for the applicant and for the evaluator to improve the quality of the proposal that we will select at the end of the process. Okay, Now, if we go more into the process, so the first guiding principle was really to be open, and whenever an innovator is ready to apply, so we have a continuously open call. You will come with a short application, and I will explain that in the next slides what it is, a short application. And then whenever you are ready, you can apply to the program, and it will be open from the 9th of April. And then we will do a remote evaluation, and you will have the result within 2 to 4 weeks. The second element of the call, so we will have an accelerator open and challenges call. So you will have to submit a full application, and again, I will explain that in detail. In 2021, we will have 2 cutoff dates. The first one will be the 9th of June, and the second one, the 6th of October. You will be able to choose between open or challenge call. So you will have to make a choice at the moment of the full application. And it means that you won't be in position to have 2 proposals in the system, open and challenge. So it's important to remember the or. The remote evaluation then will be done within 5 weeks, or you will have the result within 5 weeks. And 9 weeks after the cutoff date, you will be invited for an interview, of course, if you have been selected in the different step. So talking about the steps, so how the evaluation is made step by step. So if you believe that you have a disruptive or deep tech idea with a potential to scale up, well, come and see us. Tell us your story, and you will have to do that within your short application that will be assessed by 4 remote evaluators. The second step, so we will help you with the AI tool to prepare a quite detailed business plan, and you will be also in position to have business coaching to help you to develop your business plan. And then you will have to look at the technological aspect, the market aspect, the commercial aspect, the financial aspect, also the team behind, and then you will have to submit your full proposal. So your full proposal will be assessed by 3 remote experts, and if you are selected, you will be invited to pitch your innovation in front of the EIC jury member, and if you are selected, you will sign grant agreement or contract depending on what you have asked for in your application. And in case you have an investment component, you will enter into diligence with a number of compliance check, and at the end of the process, you will sign the investment agreement. And my colleague Stéphane Wacky will explain that more in detail in his presentation. Okay, even more now in detail. So your short application, it is UID and what we call step 1. So you will have to answer to a set of questions which will be made on the AI tool. Important to know, for the accelerator, we are not using for the process of evaluation the corporate tool as we did in the past. Everything will be done on the AI tool. In addition to the set of questions, you will have to submit a 10 slides presentation. So you will have freedom to present your company, your innovation, and then a 3 minutes video pitch. And in this video pitch, you will have to explain UID and the team. We want to know really in the video pitch who is the team behind, or the future team, to understand your project and you as a human behind the innovation. In terms of process, the short application, so it's a continuously open call, as I explained at the beginning. So whenever you are ready, you apply. You will have to answer to a set of questions, make a pitch deck, and your video. Then all this material will be assessed by 4 experts, and at least that you have 2 experts saying go, you will be invited to step 2, meaning that you will have to prepare your full proposal. And if you have 3 or 4 experts saying no go, you will have the possibility to resubmit once of course, using the comments made by the experts to improve your proposal. And I will come back at the end of the presentation to recap on the resubmission possibilities. Okay, considering that you've been selected for step 1, so you will enter in step 2, and it is the moment where you will prepare your business plan with the AI tool and with a business coach. The business coach is not mandatory, it's a choice that you make. And then when you believe that you are ready, you can submit your proposal, and you have 12 months to prepare your proposal after step 1. And then you decide you are ready and you go for step 3. The step 3 is a full proposal. So you have prepare your proposal again within the AI tool. So it will be assessed by 3 experts. And you need here to have 3 goes to be invited to step 4 being the interview. And if you have at least 1 no-go, you will have a possibility to resubmit again to the full proposal. So you can go back to step 2, improve your proposal based on the feedback that you will have received for the experts, and to be ready for the next call. And we will have, as I say, in 2021, 2 call dates in June and in October. Now step 4, so it's when you will pitch your innovation. So you will be invited to go to a jury member composed of serial entrepreneur, innovation specialist, and also senior investor. You will have to answer questions from the EIC jury members. And if you are selected, you will be invited to sign the contract. And this part of the interview, it's similar to what you have seen during the EIC pilot phase. And in terms of process, how it does translate, so you pitch your innovation in front of a jury member, which is made of maximum 6 jury members. So the first option is go. So you are selected and you will be invited to prepare your contract, depending on what you have requested. Second option, you have a no-go with a second chance. And in that situation, you will be in position to resubmit your proposal within the next 2 interview sessions. So it means that the jury member consider that your proposal is very good. There are some elements or minor elements that could be improved, and you can resubmit directly within the next interview session. Third option, you have a no-go with a seal of excellence. So it means that your proposal meet the 3 criteria, but the one on implementation, the level of risk is not high enough to be supported by the EIC Accelerator. And then you may have also the 4th option, the no-go proposal. So you are no-go, you don't get the seal of excellence. And in that situation, you will be in position to resubmit again your proposal in step 2, based on the feedback of the evaluators that you have received. And you will be in position to, again, work on your proposal and improve your proposal. So for this year, the interview session are planned for the autumn 2021 and early 2022 for the cutoff date of October. We will, of course, adjust these dates in due time. A word on the seal of excellence. So the seal of excellence, it's for the applicant who have received a go at the remote evaluation for the 3 criteria, and a go also on excellence and impact by the jury. The only part where they won't have a go at the criteria level is on the implementation, because as I say, the level of risk is not high enough. For the Seal of Excellence company, they will have access to the business acceleration services. So Cornelius already explained what it is behind the business acceleration services. And also the Seal of Excellence company will receive support for the Enterprise Europe Network, so-called EN, to also help them to secure other funding. And one element which is important for the applicant, so to be eligible for a Seal of Excellence, applicant will have to give their consent to share basic data to other funding and support body at the moment of applying to step 3. Summing up the resubmission rules. So if you are at step 1, so you are rejected for the first time, you can resubmit once at any time. If you are rejected for a second time, you will have to go for a cooling down period of 12 months, and then you will be in position to submit a new or significantly improved proposal to the short application stage. Always remember that you will receive the feedback of the evaluator, so it's important to use that when resubmitted to help the companies or the innovators to be in position to improve and work better the proposal. Regarding the full proposal, so again, if you are rejected one time, you can resubmit directly to the remote evaluation at one of the following 2 cutoff with an improved proposal. And in case you are rejected for a second time, again, you will have to apply a cooling down period of 12 months, and then you will be in position to submit again a new or significantly improved proposal at short application stage, meaning step 1. At the level of interview, so you can be rejected once, but you get a second chance. So it means that resubmission can be submitted again to one or the next 2 interviews, and it will be permitted only once. And it means that the revised application, must address the specific issue identified by the jury. The second possibility, you are rejected one time, but you get a Seal of Excellence. So in that situation, you will be in position to go again directly to the remote evaluation at one of the following 2 cutoff, and again with an improved proposal. And if you are rejected for a second time, again, you will have a cooling down period of 12 months, and then you will be in position to submit new or significantly improved proposal to the short application stage, meaning step 1. And to finalize my presentation, I will give you some insight of the AI-based platform. So I explained at the beginning of the presentation, so we have developed a tool that will be used for the applicant and the evaluator. So the AI tool, it's a tool that we provide methodology and structure for both applicant and evaluators, giving them access to an important number of information. And it will be done in 4 steps. So you have what we call the discovery module, and it will be for the applicant. So they will look at the different funding sources available. So it could be at EU level, and it could be also at national level. So it's an information for the applicant. It's not at all a blocking stage. So an applicant could still apply for the EIC Accelerator, even if there are other funding sources available. The second part of the AI tool will be the diagnostic part. So it will allow the applicant to assess their innovation and also prepare their short proposal. So then is really when they will use the methodology to assess their innovation and to answer to a set of questions to prepare the short proposal. Third element of the AI tool is what we call the design, and it will be for the applicant. And they will have support from the coaching, but also, again, they will have access to methodology, structure to prepare their full proposal, and, well, based on business plan, answering also a number of questions. And then the fourth element is for the evaluation, for the evaluators, sorry, and they will assess the innovation project with insight from the AI tool. One element which is also important to mention is all the information that will be in the AI tool in the evaluation of the proposal will be also transferred to the jury members. So to be more concrete, if you are selected for an interview, the jury member will have access to the evaluation report of the step 3 evaluators. So to have a full picture also for the jury members. And maybe another element to mention within the AI tool, again, the AI tool is a tool, is the support, and at any moment it will replace the evaluators and the experts who will assess the proposal. So I think I have completed the overall picture of the evaluation process for the accelerator, and now I will give the floor to Stéphane Wacky.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I'm sure you have already clarified many questions that applicants might have. Now we leave indeed the floor to Stéphane Wacky, who's head of unit of the financial instrument. Stéphane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chiara. Good afternoon to all. I hope that you see now my presentation on screen and you can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I will make a short presentation on the EIC Fund, which is the entity that backs we implement the equity component of the EIC Accelerator. So the EIC Fund is a venture capital fund. The Commission at this stage is the only shareholder, holds 100% of the shares. It's an instrument that we designed under the pilot of Horizon 2020 of the EIC Accelerator, and it was established in June 2020. It's an open-ended fund, so in other words, the amounts that the fund will invest will increase as the budgetary commitment to the calls under the EIC Accelerator will therefore increase. It's a flexible instrument. We can add different compartments depending on the different, I would say, issues that needs to be addressed by the fund. Sorry. So what is the fund aiming at? Obviously, it is to bridge the critical financing gap faced by many of our deep tech companies, in particular, when they bring their technologies to the market, and therefore we provide support for beginning this commercialization and scaling the process of those innovations. And what we also do is, of course, we crowd in other investors. And at the end of the day, it is thanks to the support of private investors from the market that the innovations and technologies that we will support will be able to make it at national, European, and possibly global level. And we do that through the building of a large network of capital providers and strategic partners that are suitable for co-investment. We, of course, will manage that ourselves directly in order to manage these opportunities vis-à-vis the private sector of these investment opportunities. We are nevertheless have specific characteristics in relation to other VC funds. We provide patient capital. In other words, very often funds have a 3 to 5 year, I would say, time frame before they get a return and they exit the company. We can stay for a much longer period of time, which is why we always tend to say that we provide patient capital, more patient definitely than the market. We also go where normally the risk level is seen by the market as being quite high, and therefore we are there to try to develop those market creating or breakthrough disruptive technologies. that normally are originating from research. So normally they are in the field of deep tech or that are trying to do social innovation here. We are operating in every sector, and we operate in all EU countries, including all associated countries when they will be associated to the compartment. So what is the investment component? So the EIC fund will invest at early stage up to 15 million, from 0.5 to 15 million. We occupy quite a range of stages. We can come in at a seed or startup or scale up phase. We also may reserve the right to follow on these investments if indeed we are welcome to do so. And therefore we are possibly able to accompany the growth of the company in subsequent rounds of financing. We will nevertheless try to remain with minority ownership, usually around 10%. Sometimes in certain cases we could go up to 25 when this is duly justified, but normally we remain a minority ownership stake of the order of 10%. Nevertheless, it's important to note that in certain strategic technologies that the European Union deem very important for its future technology sovereignty, let's put it that way, we may decide to hold a blocking minority and use our entry into the ownership of the company in order to exercise that blocking minority, in order to avoid that this technology will be then be acquired by investors from non-European sources, and therefore could be a problem with our mandate here in enhancing the strategic autonomy of the European Union. So like I said, we are a patient capital provider. Normally we provide our capital over a period of time that can extend to 7 to 10 years. It doesn't have to be 7 to 10 years. We could of course exit after 1 or 2, depending on how the company is evolving. But we can stay for a longer period of time than usually VC do it, with a maximum of 15 years. And the fund will be the one implementing the investment component for proposals that are retained either for blended finance or investment only support. Now let me put the spotlight a bit on what has been the experience under the EIC Accelerator Pilot under H2020, which we are still implementing right now, given the, I would say, unavoidable time lag that there is between the moment the evaluation is being completed and proposal are selected at the level of the evaluation and the moment the due diligence is being completed, and then we are able to implement it in the form of an investment agreement with the companies. So far under the pilot, we have a portfolio of 159 early stage technology companies for a total potential investment of 680 million. You see here the different sectors. As you can see, there is an overrepresentation of the sector of health and then engineering and technology, which is not very surprising. And in terms of member states, you can see how many of them, how they have fared so far in terms of these 159 companies. So now let's spend a bit of time on the process. So the process after the evaluation kickstarts a period of what we call the due diligence. The European Investment Bank, which is our investment advisor of the fund, then performs this due diligence, which looks at the number of elements here that are listed, in particular on the commercialization strategy, the business plan. It also looks into the team, but more importantly on the ownership and capital structure. And we'll try to define progressively as the due diligence develops the optimal investment structure for the entry of the EIC fund into the company. Once this due diligence is completed, the investment committee then enters into play. The investment committee of the EIC fund is not the decision-making body of the fund. It is the one, nevertheless, that issues a recommendation on pretty much everything that has to be decided by the fund. And it consists of 7 independent experts that all working in the VC area in Europe. And there is a European Commission representative as a chairperson, which is actually myself. and it recommends to the board where to invest and how to invest. And then once the fund has issued its recommendation, it goes to the board of directors, who makes all the decisions in the fund and sets the investment guidelines. Today, there are 5 members appointed by the European Commission, 2 of them being European Commission officials. It is important to note that the board of directors may request to the Commission to reject the proposal for investment. So in other words, the due diligence may result into a rejection. There are a number of grounds for doing so. Some of them are mentioned here, which could have also an impact on the grant component, in particular when the reasons that have been uncovered during the due diligence are serious enough to warrant I would say, another look at the grant component of this blended finance element. Another element that is important to take into account here is that, of course, the due diligence could also conclude that the company is not mature yet for equity investment, which could happen in the context of the analysis being done under the due diligence, and therefore the fund may recommend to the Commission that the company starts with the grant component first, with the possibility, of course, for the company to then ask for the equity component later, in particular once the grant has been implemented successfully. Now, the crowding in, why is it so important? So it's a very important element here, one that is often creating quite a lot of back and forth with the companies in the pilot. I mean, the mission of the fund is not to replace the markets. I mean, the mission of the fund is to act as a catalytic element here to attract additional resources from the market, and in particular do so when the risk level perceived by the market makes it difficult for the company to find the necessary financing on the market that will allow the company to find the necessary support in order to start the commercialization and scale-up process. But it is very clear that as soon as this is feasible, the role of the fund is to attract co-investors as early as it is, like I said, feasible, in order to provide the support from private investors here. That will, of course, dramatically increase the chances of the company to succeed, since private investors tend to come not only with money, but they come with expertise, they come with mentoring, they come with networking in specific industries and markets, usually because VCs have a wide range of contacts and networks, and that therefore they can make the companies in which they invest benefit from all that. And therefore, this is something that we, of course, try also to provide soft skill support in the form of business acceleration services, but it's important to make here a key distinction that the support and the expertise provided by the private sector is usually very effective at helping company look at options for scaling up, and therefore the entry of private investors is seen as a very necessary step. Also, it allows us to leverage the impact, use our investment as a catalytic effect and multiply taxpayers' money. Here, the goal of this leverage effect should be 3 to 5 times, but of course that varies considerably depending on the different companies that in which we are planning to invest. In order to implement this, we will need to ask, of course, a number of questions to the companies during the application process. That, of course, will be important, that the efforts towards finding investors are not put on pause by the company themselves independently of the results of the evaluation. And we will be very happy to then engage with the company and those potential co-investors when they exist, once the decision of the evaluation is positive, in order to see how this can be actually implemented properly. We, of course, are deploying right now a dedicated matching platform where we are onboarding a large number of private investors, and of which we are also utilizing the pilot to test how this interaction with the private investors is being done. We, of course, will ensure that we mediate those contacts in order to ensure that there is a positive outcome for the companies in doing so, and that we can not only look at the opportunities to invest for these investors, but also of enhancing the capacity of the companies to find the necessary expertise they need on the market. So how building on the experience that we are developing under the pilot will it look under Horizon Europe? So right now, of course, we'll prepare another compartments for budgetary reasons, and of course, because the legal base is different under Horizon Europe. The first compartment is the one of the EIC Pilot under H2020. The second one will be the one implementing the equity component of the EIC Accelerator under Horizon Europe. We have also prepared new investment guidelines that will guide the investment strategy of the fund that we build on the experience, of course, gained during the pilot. And we are right now, of course, we'll gather feedback from stakeholders and also from the delegates in the program committee representing the member states. We expect that investment guidelines will be published pending official adoption by the Commission, so the publication should be done at the end of March, beginning of April, and the actual adoption by the Commission should come a bit later, sometime in May. So I will stop there, and I will be happy to take a number of questions that you may have on the fund. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for clarifying the role of the EIC Fund. I will invite now Cornelius, Catherine, and Stefan to join me in the question and answer session. And therefore, I will share my screen. I hope you are ready for it, because we have received a record amount of questions. Let's start with this first one. Can you provide more specific guidelines on the video? Should a company film the office, the product, or just a team? Maybe Catherine?
Yes. Okay. So as we have a lot of questions, I will try to be short answering the question. So is really we want to know who is behind the team, is really the team, and why are you there today with your product and your team, and how you want to scale up. So it should be a very simple video.
Thank you. The following question is, will we have an updated of the EIC Accelerator Evaluators list?
Yes, the list of 2020, will be normally published mid-year 2021, and it should be the same for 2021, sorry, and the list of the jury members will be made public as soon as we have the completed list of the jury members.
Thank you. Then the next question. Will it be possible to insert pictures, graph, or other elements in the short proposal?
Okay, I will take that one. No, if you want to insert picture graph, we advise you to use the slide deck to do that.
Clear. Back to the experts. Have the expert evaluators already been contracted?
Okay, they've been chosen because you know that we work with almost 2,000 experts who will work remotely. So they've been chosen, and they will be contracted as soon as applicant can submit proposal, which is planned for the 9th of April. So they will be contracted after this date.
Thank you. Now, probably more tricky. The step 1 includes a question about risk of failure, while risk is only evaluated under the full proposal evaluation. How will evaluators assess this in step 1?
Okay, and the risk of failure, I think is part of the question that will be asked to the company. It will help evaluators to build the big picture of the company, but is not at the level of step 1, something that will be assessed based on the criteria to be assessed in the work program.
Thank you. Someone who has a running SME instrument project and is interested to apply in the EIC Accelerator investment only, is there a fast track option for them?
No, it's not a fast track option for them. So you can apply for the investment only, and you need to go through step 1. So you need to go to the full process of evaluation.
Thank you. If a company wants to apply to grant only, what exactly does the company have to provide to prove their future capacity? Is there a list of required documents?
Grant only, okay. Their future capacity, grant only. So the company will have to explain that maybe they're already in position to leverage fund for the scaling up part, or the fact that the company will receive a grant only will de-risk the company and will be then in position to attract investors, private investors. And the list of required documents, those elements will be requested within the AI tool. Okay, if Cornelius, Stefan, you want to step in, please go ahead.
Thank you, indeed. Feel free to join. Someone else who has a SME instrument phase 2 project but is finished and they would like to fine-tune their product before scaling, can they apply for grant and equity in the EIC Accelerator?
Cornelius, you want to take that one?
Well, Katrina, I would still probably.
Okay, right. Okay. I wanted to share. Yes, they can apply. Sorry, for the equity part.
Okay, thank you. Could you please provide more information on what is considered a risk investment and not having access to other investor funds?
Stefan, you want to answer this one on the risk investment?
Well, a risk investment is the fact that the nature of the technology that is being developed make it inherently risky in terms of the technology itself, the uncertainty about the development of the technology and of the market that is being targeted. So that's the risk level that needs to be assessed at the evaluation stage under criteria number 3. The flip side of this is, of course, that normally that perception by the market, meaning by other investors, by other funds, should reflect that. In other words, the investor interest in the company has to be a function of that risk level as being perceived, and not of a number of other factors that may be the quality of the team, the quality of the business plan, the scope of the market that's being targeted, the impact of the technologies that we're considering, and so on. All these elements, I'm afraid, will be judged by us in a similar way as the market. So, I mean, here where we depart from the market is simply on the evaluation of the risk level to determine whether if the market was functioning in a more efficient way, meaning there would be more funds available in Europe and therefore more ability to take risk, therefore that technology will be financed, and we substitute when we can identify that this is the problem in order to get that technology going forward. But not if the other elements that I mentioned are not present, because there, I'm afraid, this is not really a function of the risk. It's more an assessment overall of the preparedness of the company and the technology it's trying to implement.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a template for the slide deck?
Okay, for the slide deck, well, you will have to provide 10 slides. And then for the slide decks, we give you full freedom to present what makes sense for you. And then, well, we have put some elements in the guide for applicant, but the intention is really to give you freedom on the slide deck.
Thank you. Maybe back to Stefan. Will the co-financing be requested by the VC?
Well, I mean, it's not requested per se, but like I said, the lack of co-financing by the market may be caused by a number of other elements that are, I would say, elements that we are bound to also evaluate as problematic in the evaluation. But if the reason for which the market is not investing is simply the risk level implied by the technology, the uncertainty of the technology that at the same time is very promising in terms of the objective of the union, and the lack, I would say, of the availability of money in that particular segment of the market, then the fact that no VC is ready to provide sufficient capital for that technology is not an obligation, is not a problem in our decision to go and finance it. But of course, often the decision by VC not to invest is not being caused simply by the risk level, but caused by all the other elements that I just mentioned. So I think we need to be very careful about the distinction between for which reason a VC or the market turns down the opportunity to invest in companies. We are looking really at companies in which the opportunity to invest is turned down, not because of, I would say, a number of problems in the business plan, the commercialization strategy, the quality of the team, the impact, or the scope of the market that's being aimed at, but because really there is a suboptimal investment situation in Europe, when we know that the VC market has much less capital than, let's say, in the US, in order to invest in many risky and ventures, also because there is a generally more aversion to risk in Europe than there is in the US.
All right, thank you very much for this clear answer. Following question, sorry, they're moving very fast. We have many people, I suppose, voting for them. So it's a technical question. For the short proposal, the limit of 1,000 characters is for each single question. If yes, so the total should be not over 14,000 characters.
It's correct.
Thank you.
Then I take the opportunity that I have the floor. I think I was not correct in my previous answers, so to come back. So if you have, I was too quick when reading it. If you have a closed project on the SM instrument 2, or where you had grant only, you can ask again for blended finance, meaning grant and equity. So sorry for that, I was too quick when reading the question.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying this. So now on the calendar of this program, the date of the 22nd March, was mentioned this morning, but the funding and tender portal indicates 9th of April. Can you please confirm?
Yes. On the 22nd, you will have access, or you have already access to all the documents related to the calls, except the access to the AI tool. So you have the guide for applicants, you have the FIQ, and you have a lot of applicant for the a lot of information in the guide for applicant. And yes, the 9th of April is when the call will be open, meaning that applicant will be in position to submit their proposal.
Thank you for this clarification. The following question is a bit more tricky. The AI platform for evaluation is odd, and AI is machine learning experience-based, whereas innovation is novel with no previous experience. What training model was used?
Okay, I will, okay, well, on the comment, I will not comment. The thing is, we are using a platform that has been, has been already used for certain type of project. We are buying a service that we will use, and then we will use the AI tool. And as I say in my presentation, the AI tool is really to propose a methodology to develop the project, and also to support the experts to assess the proposal. Again, supporting the experts to assess the proposal and not doing the work for them. And then both the applicant and the expert will have access to quite huge number of data and open sources to build a proposal or to assess the proposal.
Thank you. Now, Carol has a question on the evaluation again. What justification and evidence are expected by the evaluators for the question, provide evidence that your company is not investment ready?
Okay, maybe Stefan, you can answer that one. I think you have already answered to some extent to that question.
I'm not sure I understand fully the question. I mean, in order to do what? To prove that your company is not investment ready, to apply to what? But in any case, the idea here is that elements of interactions with VC funds or with banks in order to finance this type of activities could, of course, be becoming the more details that you provide in this interaction with potential private investors of providers of funds will be useful in that context, but it does not have to be provided in the form of documents, written documents, and so on. But of course, if they do exist, we'll take due note of it. I want nevertheless to clarify that the possibility for us to plug a gap on the market, it's what I call a suboptimal investment situation, does not necessarily to be complete. I mean, in other words, you may have very well a situation in which you have a number of investors already secured, or you have already a number of investors that have already invested in your company. But nevertheless, to take it to the next stage, those investors will consider that the risk level of them continuing to accompany the company for the entire amount is a bit out of their range, and therefore they are looking for other partners to diversify. And we can be such a partner, in particular when, like I said, the technology creates a particular uncertainty, and therefore the risk perceived by the market is particularly difficult to manage in this context.
Thank you. I think, Stefan, you can stay with us because someone has a question on the board. Why is the majority of the board coming from the private investment community, including 2 persons from the same private equity firm?
On the board, the decisions are taken in a way requires the agreement of the commission who owns the EIC Fund. So in other words, no decision can be made without the agreement of the commission representative on the board. We have drawn on the experience of 3 external members of the board in order to basically do something that the commission doesn't know how to do by definition, because it's the commission, which is to manage a VC fund. So we have Hermann Hauser, who has a very long experience on the VC market, in particular in the deep tech area. And we have 2 directors coming from Alter Domus, who is our administrative agent. The administrative agent of the fund is providing a number of services to the fund in order to allow the fund to function. And they are doing a number of horizontal, they cover a number of horizontal issues, such as ensuring compliance issues vis-à-vis the companies and the investors in the companies in which we invest. They are taking care also of human resources issues. They are taking care of IT issues. They provide a depository for the company documentations and so on. So they provide, I would say, a number of range of horizontal tasks that are necessary for the fund to function and also for the investment to be done in a proper way. They do usually refrain from taking a view on the investment opportunity that the fund takes in these particular companies, unless they identify issues related to what I just mentioned, compliance in particular. So from that point of view, the reason of their presence is to cater for this type of external expertise that we needed in order for the fund to function, but not to take a view as to implementing the commission decision on the equity component that has been agreed during the evaluation step.
Thank you for this clarification. Now we're back to Catherine. There is someone who's probably undecided. If your proposal fits both open calls and the challenges, what should you choose? Where is the funding rate the highest?
Okay, so well, I think on the probability, well, I leave that to you. The thing you make a choice when you prepare your proposal. So what is really important is to look at really what are the challenges. If you really fit into the challenges, well, maybe it's done for this reason. And if you look at the amount between the open and the challenge, is not a big difference between the two. So if we have put challenge at the EU level, is really that priority for you. It's really where it will we expect that your project will contribute also to the technological sovereignty of Europe. But of course, it's for the applicant to make the choice, and you have the time also to mature your decision in step 1. So it's completely covers open and challenge, and then when you prepare your proposal, it will be at that moment that you will make the decision, and eventually something to be discussed with your coach if you do have a coach.
All right, then again on how to apply, where can I find the AI platform in order to submit my short application?
Okay, so there is on the funding and tender on the platform, the Commission platform, you will have all the information related to the call. So you have all the call documents. You have, I think my colleague told me this morning, there is already a link to the AA platform that will open on Monday. So you start from the funding and tender platform, and then from that point you move to the AA platform.
Great news. Then, but once we're in this platform, okay, sorry, I missed the question, but it was, what if the step 0 does not suggest me to apply for the accelerator? Can I still apply?
Okay, yes, it's an indication that you have. So it gives you a broad view of where you could apply. You may have other programs that maybe are also or better a good fit, but still from step 0, if well, the accelerator is not the best program for you, you could still have the possibility to apply, and step 0 is not a blocking stage of the application.
All right, good to be reassured. Now, will the algorithms of the AI tool be made public? Will the SME have the access to the AI assessment prior to the submission?
Okay, so on the AI tool, the algorithm is not going to be public, and then have access to the AI assessment prior to the submission. They will have access after the submission.
All right. John has a second question for us. How do you ensure that the final evaluators, who are private investors, fund projects that they would not invest in?
Catherine.
Yes, I was thinking you want to answer on that one? The final evaluator?
What do you mean the final evaluator?
I suppose we refer to the jury members.
The jury members, yeah.
Okay, so it's okay. Go ahead, Stefan.
No, I mean, please go ahead, because the evaluation is your part.
So if you mean the final evaluators being the jury member, were private investor fund project that they would not invest in. The thing when we do select, well, if I understand correctly the question, you ask for how do we look at the conflict of interest? So, well, the jury members are here to support us in the evaluation, to be part of a group of jury members to take the best informed decision to select or not a proposal. And prior to the evaluation, we look at who are the jury members, and then we look at they don't have any conflict of interest. They are not part of the project which is present. They are not part of the board of the company who is present.
Thank you for clarifying this. Carol is back. She has another question regarding this time the coaches. To what extent will the EIC Business Acceleration Service coaches support the applicant in the second stage of the application? On which part will they focus? The business plan, the financial plan, what elements?
Okay. Cornelius, you want to answer on the bus or should I answer? Okay, so I will start, and if you need to complement, go ahead. Yes, the EIC coaches, they are really business coach. So we will ask, well, their role is really to support their company to develop their business plan. Yes, meaning so IG, your business plan, financial plan, but also all the elements of the business plan. So the technological part, the commercial part, the risk part, the financial part. So all the elements making a business plan, and we are called them business coaches.
Thank you. And then probably another question regarding the evaluation. InnoLoop, the company behind the AI tool, is also providing consultancy for the customer. Isn't there a conflict of interest? And what about data privacy?
Okay, so that element is clarified with InnoLoop. So we have bought a service from InnoLoop with supporting with the AI tool for the purpose of our program, and it is completely separated, so there is no conflict of interest.
Thank you for this important clarification. Carol, again, what are the evaluation criteria at the interview stage? Is it impact or return on investment driven? Will the jury members be all expert in the specific sector of the proposal?
Okay, the evaluation criteria at the interview stage, they are very detailed in the guide for applicant, and also, well, in the work program and in the guide for applicant. So they look at specific elements of the three criteria: impact, technological excellence, and implementation. It is driven or return on investment driven. So I say they look at the three criteria, and then if they're expert in the specific sector of the proposal, the answer is yes. When an applicant apply for the accelerator, the applicant will have to give a certain number of keywords to help us to understand on which what is the theme, or what is the subject or the specific sector of the proposal, and on this basis we will do match with expert in the specific sector. And always remember that at the jury level we have also a combination of different profiles. So we have jury members who are more experts on the technological part or innovation part, some who are really serial entrepreneur, senior serial entrepreneur, and also investor, and with and they all seniors in their field.
Thank you. Another question from John. Will there be any evaluation of the performance of the evaluators? And I suppose he's curious to know, how do we monitor evaluators?
Okay, I think there are two ways to answer to that question. So under Horizon Europe, and it was the same under Horizon 2020. So we work on the basis of experts who have applied and have showed their interest in the database for experts. So per se, we do not evaluate the performance of the evaluators. Then when we work with evaluators, and that we're very, very operational. So we train experts first. We look at their reliability. We look at their capacity to write comment if they make a proper evaluation linked to the criteria. So we do have a number of things we look at. If the work of the experts is not good enough when assessing the proposal, we come back to the experts and we ask them to develop their comment and to improve their evaluation to be in line with the evaluation criteria.
Very clear. Now, can I submit to both EIC Accelerator and Pathfinder if those are completely different projects?
I think there is nothing that prevents you to do that. What is the sense out of it? Normally, if you apply in the accelerator in the Pathfinder, well, the level of development and maturity of the project is quite different. So in Pathfinder, you are in low TRL, and in the EIC Accelerator, you start to apply in the EIC Accelerator when you are in the highest TRL level. So, it's a question of does it make sense?
All right, so this was answered with a question. Do you expect the people applying in April with a short proposal will have enough time to submit a full proposal in June?
Yes, we do. So it means that when you will apply in April or early April, we say that we will do the evaluation within 2 to 4 weeks. So we will aim to have finalized at the end of April, giving at least 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks to be in position to submit for June, the June cutoff. Having said that, there is no obligation if you apply in April to submit your proposal for the June cutoff.
Thanks for this clarification in the timeline. Now, Renaud, is the EIC Accelerator investment or grant accessible to SME already listed on Euronext Growth?
Stéphane, you want to answer on that one, or Cornelius?
Yes. Yeah, okay.
So I can answer this. The important thing is that you comply with the EU SME definition, which is easily available online. So this is defined on staff headcount, on turnover and balance sheet total, and on independence, of course. So as long as you apply with those criteria, you are eligible.
All
Indeed.
right, very clear. So what does the AI tool do? Sorry, I clicked on the wrong button, but basically what is the AI tool doing?
Okay, again, the AI tool is supporting and providing a methodology to help applicants to build up their proposal based on access to a quite big number of information on the technology, on the market, on the IPR, and then based on that, the applicant is supported, can use a methodology to prepare his proposal. And then the thing is the comment of, well, is based on past trend, so cannot be disruptive, is also supporting, helping and providing information to the experts. And again, we rely on the expert and on the knowledge of the experts to assess the proposal. So yes, the platform is disruptive based on the information to which the platform has access to. And in case, well, we will also look at how the platform is performing and is really promoting disruptiveness. But with what we have done up to now, well, the platform do promote disruptiveness.
Maybe to give a bit of support, Catherine, there, this is becoming a debate of AI experts, I think, and I wouldn't claim that I am one, but surely this platform can, for example, provide information on what else similar things are on the market. And that could, for example, in the case there is something like this, that would be less disruptive. So I think indirectly, clearly the platform can contribute to this. And also to underline what Catherine says, this is always a tool that assists the applicants as well as the evaluators. So we do not rely on a machine algorithm here. We rely on evaluators that take into account the information that the AI platform gives them.
Thank you. to both. Now back to Stefan. As the EIC funds differentiate between leading investor, current investor, professional investor, and so on, is this classification used also at proposal stage?
I don't think so, but of course, this information is relevant when the due diligence is being completed and in subsequent tranches of release of the investment. Of course, these differences, these distinctions are not minor, they can be quite important. But at the level of the proposal, no. But it's important that as much detail as possible are being provided, of course, as much as it is feasible at the moment of the application being completed.
Of course, the more detail, the better. Next question. How does the EIC take care that VC in the interview panel have no conflict of interest between funded companies and companies in their portfolio?
Well, I think I have already answered to that one. So we look at conflict of interest before the interview takes place. Great.
So we go to the next question. Oops, sorry. The votes are quicker than I am. So Carol, the question of the short application are already available in the guide for applicants. When will the ones for the full application, I suppose, will be published?
Okay, so for the full application, it will be published by mid-April. And then I can answer to the next one, then the 23 vote will be done. So the next is from John. So do they receive training? Yes, evaluator receive training. So we do invest quite a lot of time and material to train the experts before the evaluation, during the evaluation, and after the evaluation.
Very clear. John again, if 90% of the EIC pilot funding went to green, health, and digital technology, why is the Horizon Europe EIC restricting this budget to less than 50%? Philosophical question.
Well, I think I can try. I mean, this is, and we also have Jean-David now here who can also intervene. But my understanding is that this is, of course, the nobody excludes green, health, or digital technology in the open call. We just have an additional specific budget that is exclusively dedicated to these technologies. We will still, of course, fund these things also in the open part.
Good to know. And then, sorry.
I mean,
please, Jean-David, please.
No. So, in fact, I can only confirm what. Sorry, excuse me. I can only confirm what Cornelius said a few seconds ago. The figures that we have shared with you, the 90%, are already in reality the result of both approach, a challenge-based approach, where we had, for example, a Green Deal call last year, and the bottom-up approach. So this is the figure of the mixed approach that we will continue to develop. So in other words, I mean, as Cornelius said clearly, in the bottom-up call, in the open one, by definition, any technology coming from any sector would be eligible, including these ones. And it's not unlikely that at the end we will have similar, not exactly the same, but similar results.
Thank you very much to both. Now, a slightly less philosophical question: is the limit of 1,000 characters per section referring to the single question or the whole section?
Well, now the 1,000 character refer to a single question to make it at the end of the answering the question to 4,000 characters, which represents 5 pages of application.
Thank you. And as a question, how can an applicant prove the non-bankability in a grant-only application and sufficient financial means for scaling at the same time?
Okay, the first thing is the non-bankability. It's not something that we will really assess now within this work program. The thing on the grant-only application, the applicant will have to explain that they will have sufficient means after the grant. It could be the situation, or they know already that if they receive a grant only to help them to develop their innovation activities, they will de-risk the project, and meaning that it will lead them to be in position to raise funding from the market. And then this information will be also verified during the implementation of the project, to be sure that really the grant play its effect and provide the impact expected.
Thank you very much. Then someone who's a bit lost in the calendar, I suppose, the call opening date of the 8th of April refers to the short or the full application?
It refers to the short application, and the full application, you will be in position to write your full application second part of April, and it will be your full application that you will submit for the cutoff date in June.
Thank you very much. I hope Bruno has it now. Following question: does the Seal of Excellence of the EIC Accelerator Pilot also have access to the EIC Business Acceleration Service?
Yes.
Easy one. Next one: how will the fund estimate the valuation, with existing guidelines or new guidelines?
Stefan, I think it's for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, so far we try to stay away from doing the valuation ourselves and rely on the co-investors to do so, or the existing investors in case we enter on the terms of a previous rounds. The issue here for us is that, of course, it is tricky without the validation from the market to put a valuation that is not erring on one side by being too generous and creating a problem for the companies to raise further capital, or being too stingy and therefore creating the additional problem then of undervaluing the company. So we try to stay away from it. So far, this strategy has worked under the pilot. Let's see how it develops under Horizon Europe, where we may face the case in which we would be in a position to enter the company and determine the valuation. But so far, the case has not appeared in the context of the pilot.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I just would like to remind everyone that we have 10 minutes left officially, and we still have 150 questions. So we will do our best, but I suppose that some of them will remain unanswered. And for that, we advise you to have a look at our brand new EIC website and look at the FAQ or guide for applicants. But let's try to move on and see how further we can go. Is there a possibility that the June deadline will be postponed?
Well, not at the moment.
Okay, so John, can you apply twice to each challenge, or a rejection in one counts a rejection in all?
So is the second part of the question, rejection in one counts as a rejection in all?
Great. Are companies allowed to crowd in their own investors for additional rounds? Probably Stefan.
Well, I mean, I cannot entirely exclude it, but this raises a number of questions as to whether the existing investors in the company provide the necessary external support, external investment and validation to the business plan and the development of the company that usually we tend to look for in order to assess whether then it becomes, I would say, a reasonable proposal for us to unlock a number of usually the second tranche or the third tranche that we have envisaged under the EIC Fund. So there is no, I mean, simple answer to that or general answer to that. So it may very well be that the investors that are there are qualified professional external investors already in the cap table of the company that then qualify for the next rounds. But it can be also that the investors are, let's say, in-house investors that therefore will not necessarily qualify in the particular case. So we need to look at it in the context of that particular company there. But usually what we want, and why this co-investment is important, of course, is to have some kind of external validation of the business plan, of the team, of the technology going forward.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. Now, where can I find the template for the short application, I suppose?
Okay, the template, there is no template as such for the EIC application. So you will have to go to the funding and tender platform and use the AI platform link. So there is no template as such for the EIC Accelerator. So we want to work in a more business environment. Then you have the platform, the AI platform will be open on Monday, and you will be in position to see how it works. The question is also mentioned in the guide for applicants. And then for the second stage, the question related for the second stage will be available during the second half of April.
Thank you very much. And probably this answers also the following question, which is what will be the annex asked at step 2?
Okay, it's not that we will ask for annex if you will have the possibility to put certain information in annex, but we want that everything is made within the AI tool to build the full proposal to be then assessed.
Thank you. Are the UK SMEs eligible for both grant and equity funding?
Grant only. Sorry.
I would have had the same. I would have said the same. I was just giving another voice, but yes, for grant, not for equity.
So that was a course. Are the templates already available for those who still have questions on it?
Okay, so I think I have already answered. So look at the funding portal. You have all the information for the EIC Accelerator. You have FAQ, you have guide for applicants, and you have also the link that will be activated on Monday to the AI tool.
Thank you. And then again, someone who's a bit lost in the calendar, when will the EIC Accelerator open? 8th of April, next week. Can you please explain?
Okay. So all the documents after the adoption of the work program are now available in the funding portal. The date of 8th of April, it means that when applicant will be in position to submit a proposal, write their proposal and submit their proposal.
Thank you, Catherine. Ivo is probably hoping to travel soon, or at least is asking, will the interviews occur remotely?
Okay, then we will see in the autumn how the situation is, and we will inform applicants selected for interview how we will handle the interview.
Thank you. Let's hope the situation change. Are the compulsory security questions similar to previous edition? What is the security appraisal process and to whom does it apply?
Okay, regarding the security question, yes, it will be similar to the previous one. The security appraisal process and to whom does it apply? Well, the thing is everybody will have to answer to the question, and then it will be first assessed at the level of the remote evaluation, and if the proposal selected, it will be further assessed to see if it complies with all the security rules.
Thank you. Ivo is getting ready for an interview and is wondering, how is the go decision achieved between 6 jury members? Is it by majority?
Well, the thing is, the 6 jury members, they have to find a consensus to agree or to disagree. So they tend to be by majority, but when they discuss with each other, if you have 4 who are ready to support the proposal, the 2 other one, they should also accept. So the thing is, they stay locked in a room until they have taken a decision.
Yeah, and this applies also remotely.
Yes.
The leverage 3 to 5 means that the EIC fund will never put more money than private investor per operation. Maybe Stefan?
No, I mean, this leverage figure I'm giving you is a global figure, so it does not mean anything per operation. But in any case, like I said, we are coming in normally, we're taking a 10% stake. Sometimes can be increased to 15, 20%, sometimes 25%. So you can make yourself the calculation of what that means on the basis of the fact that probably there is already a number of investors in the company already. So of course, we could of course go below the 10% as well. So this is something that varies from company to company, but this leverage effect that we are looking for is an objective, but it's an objective that will be judged at global level and not per operation.
Thank you. And I suppose this will be our last question for today. Can I apply for the EIC Accelerator if I have not yet opened the startup company? What do I need to do in order to do that?
Okay, so maybe Cornelius, you want to finish that one, or you want me to go?
Yes, go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. So if you're not yet incorporated, so yes, you can apply. And you will have, if selected, you will have to create, to incorporate the company. So if you have requested grant only before signing the grant component, and then if you have applied for the investment component, you will have to be incorporated before signing your contract for the investment component. Maybe I can answer the next one because it's quite easy one. So to finance the 30% of the grant with the equity, yes, it is possible. So it was quite easy one.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm afraid we will not be able to answer all the questions still remaining, but we really advise you to have a look at this new website we have prepared for you. There's plenty of information there. And if not, do not hesitate to reach your national contact point. They will for sure be able to support you even more. Andres, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. We are now moving to the final part. We still have time for questions. So the questions that were posed at the introductory part in the morning, we will take them now. To answer the question, we have Jean-David Malo, who is the director of the EIC. So welcome to Jean-David. I know that he actually was listening to us since 20 minutes ago already. Here we have the question. So the first one with 30 votes is about the former FTI, Fast Track Innovation. So is it cancelled and included in the EIC Accelerator, or what happened with it?
No, thanks and good afternoon to everybody. Indeed, we have not anymore the Fast Track to Innovation as a specific scheme in the context of the EIC under Horizon Europe. So you will not find something similar, which does not mean that, in fact, when you are participating in particular to an accelerator project, or when you are participating in particular to a transition activity project, by definition, you will not have a number of similarity. But to be very clear, I mean, you have not a successor of the FTI under Horizon Europe.
Okay, thanks. Then we have another question about the slides. I mean, I can answer the one. Yes, they will be available. Now we can move to the second and the third, which relate to countries like Switzerland and the UK, if they're about to be included in Horizon Europe, and of course, if they can participate, companies or entities from those countries can participate in the EIC.
For UK, it's rather straightforward, and it was already answered. I mean, in the previous session. I mean, UK will participate as an associated country because in the protocol of the Brexit agreement, in fact, they have already covered the condition for an association agreement under Horizon Europe. With the particularity, and it was underlined by Cornelius and Catherine a few minutes ago, that as far as the EIC is concerned, UK has decided not to participate, financially speaking, to the finance part, to the investment part, meaning the equity or equity-like part, so meaning what will be provided under the EIC Accelerator by the EIC Fund. But UK, by definition, can participate globally and will participate globally to Horizon Europe, and in particular within the EIC for everything which is not relating to investments. For Switzerland, I mean, Switzerland, we know that Switzerland over the year was an associated country of the Framework Program for Research and Innovation. Very likely Switzerland would like to continue this way, but this, of course, will be subject to the signature of the association agreement, which is not yet the case.
Thank you. Now we have a question regarding local and regional private startup incubators or accelerators, if we offer support to those entities.
I mean, we will support indeed local, regional private startup incubators and accelerator, but not within the EIC work program per se. I mean, even if indirectly in some of our particular activities, for example, with EN, we will do some things that will contribute to this. But this part of this type of support is part of the objectives that will be covered over the framework program by another program of Horizon Europe in the third pillar, which is EU Innovation Ecosystem. And as you know, the two programs are interlinked, and they will be also delegated to the same executive agency, EICMIA. And of course, the two programs will work closely together.
Thanks. Now we have a question on EIC networking events. I don't know if this question refers to networking events as part of the business acceleration services or just in general. But can you provide an answer to that?
I mean, without any doubt, there will be. I mean, this is clear. A number of them indeed will take place.
Okay, now we have a question from Matt Bleasdale. Your evaluation process, because of deadlines, runs in batches, causing delay in funding. Why do you stick with to deadlines rather than an investment metric model?
I mean, the way we have decided to approach the evaluation process, and I'm sure it was already explained in large by Catherine, by definition will not cause delay in funding. On the contrary, I mean the timing that will take place between the various steps is very short. And on top of this, maybe it was already addressed also by Stefan as far as the investment part is concerned. There also we will reduce on the basis of the experience of the pilot the timings that we were confronted at the very beginning of the experience of the pilot as far as the investment part is concerned. So the fact to process also by deadlines is also an help for the various submissionaire to know when, by definition, they will they have to provide their support. On top of this, you have noted that nevertheless we have introduced something rather new, which is a possibility at the very first step, in fact, to submit a proposal at any moment in order to have a quick feedback, allowing you to provide a proposal which is more robust if you are successful with this first step at a very particular deadline. So it's a mix, in fact, of a single approach with deadlines that you can find elsewhere in the framework program, and something which is totally open with a treatment project by project. So it's a mix between the both, but keeping the best of the both approach.
Okay, thank you. We have a quite interesting question about the Seals of Excellence. The person is asking if there is a simplified procedure to get funding from national regional authorities with a link to the cohesion funds.
There is one, but up to the managing authority. And I mean, when I say managing authority, I mean what is mentioned here, national or regional authorities that have been decided by the country to act as managing authority in the context of the cohesion fund. It's up to them to use this possibility. In fact, they will have the possibility indeed, but not the obligation, to simplify the process by using the rules of Horizon if they want to do it. But it's not an obligation for them. They will have this possibility, which is now offered in the context of the new MFF.
Okay, clear. We have another question from Matt Pleasdale. You set out difficulties Euro has with disruptive innovation, investment, etc. You didn't set out solutions. How is this different from what has gone before?
I'm sure Matt will agree that I can disagree with the first part of his, not a question, but his statement. The whole rationale of the EIC is indeed to provide solutions. I mean, we do believe, for example, that by providing the type of financing that we are offering, in particular in the context of the EIC Accelerator with blended finance, we are tackling one of the weaknesses that we are facing now for several decades in the very early stage regarding the capacity and the possibility for promising deep tech-oriented startup and SMEs to attract investments that is clearly today not delivered at a sufficient level by the private sector. So we are providing solutions. We are also trying to provide another solution with another valley of death that exists between the generation of a knowledge and the investment readiness situation of a company carrying out, in fact, this knowledge which exists today and that we would like to tackle with the transition activity. So we are trying within the EIC, indeed, to provide this kind of solution that for the time being does not exist. If I take again the first example I just gave, nowhere in Europe you will find what we are proposing in the context of the blended finance of the EIC Accelerator. What you may find in a number of countries, not in all the countries in Europe, is a situation where, for example, promotional institutions are acting as a successor of a potential investment that is coming from private sector. And here we are exactly on the opposite situation, because as certainly Stefan mentioned it, of course, we are looking for other investors with the objective to crowding in, but with also the possibility in our investment to act as a first tranche, as the first investor. So meaning that this is something that does not exist for the time being in the European Union.
Now we have another question concerning access to business acceleration services. If these type of services, they are limited to, well, the access to those services is limited for Seals of Excellence, so companies that they have received the Seals of Excellence.
I think that Catherine already answered exactly the same question in the previous question, so the answer will be the same. It's luckily the same, so the answer is yes.
We have now a question about national agencies for fast track. So how will they be selected, and if there is a preliminary list of eligible bodies ready somewhere?
There is no pre-selection per se. We are setting, in fact, the conditions in order to participate to the fast track process. And in this context, in fact, we will see who will be the entities that will be eligible for this particular process of the fast track. And as you know, we are working also on another approach for the plugin, because I have the feeling that in fact this question is more linked to the plugins than the fast track. The fast track is within, in fact, the framework program. And this is something that, as far as the plugin is concerned, this is something that will come to an end in terms of preparation in the course of 2021 in order to be implemented fully in 2022.
Okay, thanks. Then we have a quite different question, and I think this is quite interesting. The question is about what profiles are sought to join the board, the EIC board. Could the directors of large private industry clusters be of interest for the Commission?
Could be, could be indeed. As you know, we will relaunch a process for the constitution of the board in 2021. We had the chance to have the possibility to pilot also the idea of the EIC board in the context of the pilot in 2019-2020. So in spring, we will launch a call for expression of interest in order to select the new members, with certainly a certain level of continuity between the pilot and the new board. And we will very likely there also as the approach to have a composition of the board will be similar to the one that we have today in the pilot. So meaning a large spread of different profiles, allowing to have within the board different type of knowledge, different type of profiles, in order to help us, because this is the purpose of the board, to better shape, still improve the way we are implementing the EIC, and to advise us on the best way to continue to develop our approach. So to answer directly the question, this type of profile could fit, but will not be the only type of profile that we will look for.
Thanks. There is another question. Is research a priority over SMEs?
I have difficulty to understand the question to a certain extent, because I do not see the link between, making a priority between research and SME. Within the EIC, we are supporting in reality both research and innovation. But we have a clear focus that the type of research that we are ready to support, in particular in the context of the EIC Pathfinder, have ultimately the objective to generate results that can be used in order to create innovative process, innovative products. So, and then of course, concretely to have these research results used in the context of the growth of a startup or an SME. So it's not a question of a priority, if I could say. Having said that, if you look carefully, for example, to the legal basis of Horizon Europe as far as the EIC is concerned, you have a clear mention by the legislator, meaning the parliament and the council, that at least 70% of the budget of the EIC must go to SME. But SMEs that by definition can also do research, but which are by definition also oriented towards innovation purpose.
Okay, we take a few more questions before we wrap up. We have another one from Matt Bleasdale. Do you have an automatic distribution list for updates to the EIC events, calls, board member applications, etc.?
Do you have an automatic? So sorry.
Yeah, it's here highlighted.
Do you have an automatic? An automatic distribution list, I'm not so sure, but of course, any information that will have an immediate relevance for our stakeholders and everybody which is interested in what we will do will be available on our website. So this is the first place where to find this kind of information. And we will count, of course, also on our partner for spreading the information. And I have in mind, for example, our NCP network, as well as EN and so on. But the first level of information will be on our website. But my colleagues that are present can also complement if I miss something, of course.
Thanks. I see. I mean, we have plenty of questions. I cannot see one that I saw that was quite interesting. It's concerning if non-EU citizens, but residing in the EU, can apply for funding.
I mean, there you are touching, in fact, the question of a legal body, which is taking the form of a natural person, and by definition, a natural person is a legal body. I mean, sorry to say that, but this is just a fact. And there, I mean, the rules that we are applying for constituted legal bodies, so not human beings, will apply exactly the same. So, I mean, by definition, the fact that you are a European citizen established in another country make you also eligible by definition. If you are somebody from an associated country, but again, I mean, for the time being, except UK, we have not yet other associations that are in charge. By definition, you will have the possibility also. If you are not, the answer is no.
Okay. Yeah, you see, here's the question.
So I just answered.
Okay, I think we need to move on. So many thanks for the questions. I think, you know, as mentioned earlier, any information is available on our website, as well on the you know, the recordings will be also available on YouTube. So now we just move to the closure. So I leave the floor for Jean-David to say a few words, and that's it.
Thanks a lot, Andres, and allow me, first of all, in my concluding remark, to thank warmly all my teams that have prepared this full day webinar event dedicated to applicants. I mean, you may imagine that it was a lot of work in order to be able to set up this. And I'd like, first of all, to thank all of them, and to thank all of you that have participated to this event, in particular also the speakers, and all of you that has contributed also to answer the various questions coming from applicants. I'd like also to thank warmly the very enormous number of people that have followed the full day. I mean, it's rather impressive when I see the figures, but it also demonstrates all the interest that exists for what we are now launching with the fully fledged EIC. It's a good signal, but it's also putting a lot of good pressure on our shoulders in order to deliver what is expected from startup SMEs, researchers, research organization that intend to participate to the European Innovation Council call. You can count on our side, and I'm speaking here on behalf of all the EIC colleagues. You can count on our side to be fully dedicated, as we were in the last months, but to continue to be fully dedicated in order to make a very good start of the implementation of the EIC. And as mentioned by numerous of my colleagues, we are at your disposal to provide you any questions that you may continue to have, and we will continue on our website via our partners to disseminate any additional information that are needed in order to help you as a future applicant to prepare in the best condition possible your first application. I think that with these 2 last days, we have created a momentum, a real momentum, and this momentum, and I'd like to underline this, is not coming out of the blue. I mean, this is also the result of several years of preparation. In reality, several years where we have, in particular in the last 3 years, tested a number of new avenues in order to support promising researchers, innovators, entrepreneurs that have ideas that could change, in fact, the way we are living for the best, that can provide answers to the various challenges that we are facing, be it in the context of the climate challenge, be it in the context of the digital transition, be it, of course, in the context of the pandemics that we are facing. And there we have, I think that in these last years, we had the opportunity to fine-tune a number of avenues in order to help these innovators and entrepreneurs in the best way possible. I'm not saying that what we are proposing now is the best ever solution, certainly not. But we are convinced that thanks in particular also to you, because we learned a lot from what we have tested with you, we do believe that now we have the opportunity to really make a change. Having said that, it's just the beginning of the story. You certainly remember that in his opening remark, our current chair of the EIC board in the context of the EIC launch ceremony, Mark Ferguson, said that, make a quote, in fact, of Rudyard Kipling, mentioning that it was the first verse of the first chapter of a book full of promises and opportunities. And indeed, it's just the first verse. And by definition, we will write the next ones all together. I mean, we had this particularity over the last 2 years, in particular in the pilot, the enhanced EIC pilot, to try to learn also from the ground, from the market, from the stakeholders. And our intention is to continue to do so in order to continue to fine-tune, in fact, the type of products that we would like to offer you in order to turn your idea into promising companies or into promising products. And this is the DNA of the EIC. It will be the DNA of the executive agencies that will be launched, in fact, on the 1st of April, the European Innovation Council and SME executive agencies that will host the implementation of the EIC. And this is one of the reasons why we have a work program for the EIC of only 1 year in order to be agile and to be able to adjust on a regular basis the type of services that we will provide you. So it's a very important moment. We will now go for the first round, if I could say it this way, and we will also learn from this first round in order to continue over the next 7 years to try to improve again and again the type of services that we would like to provide to our promising innovators in Europe, be it researchers, be it entrepreneurs, and from all over the European Union. So I will just conclude by saying that now that in the next days, the first calls will be opened. I mean, as Catherine said a few minutes ago, in fact, all the information in order to help you to prepare, in fact, your first submission are already there. But technically to submit, in fact, first proposal, this will take place in a few days. But now that we are at this moment, you can count, of course, on our full commitment in order to be with you, to accompany you in order to make this first call a full success. Thanks a lot for having participated to this webinar. And of course, as mentioned earlier by Andres, there will be others. There will be other events that will come, different places. And I am just concluding by wishing you a very nice end of the day and of course, a very good and relaxing weekend. Thank you very much.
Indeed, many thanks, Jean-David. Also, thank you all for watching and for participating. And indeed, a nice weekend to all of you and see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.